Hey guys, welcome. I'm going to do this video actually, it's one I've been meaning to do for quite a while. Actually, I should start. If you're watching us for the first time, then please do like and subscribe to the video. It would be great to get our subscribers over 100. We're very close to that. That'll be a nice little milestone to hit at the early part of 2021. This video though is going to be really my 10-month review. I've had this car now for 10 months and we've been going through COVID, so I've not really had a huge opportunity to drive it. That being said, I've done over 8,000 miles, so I haven't done too bad. But I wanted really just to summarize the things that I love about this car, having had it for 10 months. And these aren't in any particular order. There's no particular weighting on any of them that I would want to go into. But they're the sort of, I think, the 6 reasons that I've loved this car. And I'm going to do that as we're driving around, and also do some cutaway footage as well. Okay, the first thing to say, one of the first things that I like about the car is the fact that it is zero emissions. I mean, it was definitely a big motivator as far as why I purchased the car. You know, it is the area that we're going into to save the planet, and so it is nice. You know, I know there's loads of debate around how much energy it costs, you know, how much energy it uses to create the car, but at least we're moving to zero emission cars. And however much energy it takes to create a car like this, it's got to be better than spewing out all the rubbish that general cars spew out. And I would build into that the fact that, you know, I've got solar as well, which obviously means that sometimes the fuel for me is a lot less, but we'll come on to fuel a bit later and costs of driving a bit later. The second thing for me is the fact that it's one of the safest cars that you can buy. If you look at all the information on the internet about safety with Tesla, they get 5-star ratings virtually for every category, for every car, and so it is a serious thing that they want to achieve. It is the safety aspect. And that's quite reassuring that, you know, if you're in the car, you know, it's got sophisticated systems that are always looking out for you all the time. And I mean, I've got mine, you can go into the settings for these, but I've got mine set to sort of medium, but it works all of the time. It's continually monitoring the vehicles in front right now. If you look on the screen, you can see the vehicle in front. It's continually monitoring that. If I carry on accelerating and that one's slowing down, it will beep and tell me that's the case, that's what's happening, and that I could be in an accident if I don't actually take some action. So that's quite an important aspect to the car from my point of view. In fact, I'll cut to a little video that I took. It has actually saved me, well, it's warned me on a number of occasions that the car in front is slowing down, but it actually has saved me from a collision just a few months ago when I was approaching a roundabout. My fault entirely. I looked to the right, could see no traffic coming, so I decided to so I carried on going as if the car in front of me had already gone through the roundabout. Big mistake, because the car had in fact braked. So that meant that I would have gone into the back of it. And on that little video clip, which I'll show you now, all of the braking was done by the car. I was ready to plow into the back of the car. So it absolutely saved my skin on that occasion. And so knowing that you've got airbags all around you, the car's got sophisticated technology that will protect you as much as possible, it is a really reassuring thing. The third, and probably the biggest area for me, is the driving experience. And there are lots of elements that add to the driving experience of a Tesla. And I'm going to demonstrate some of those to you and tell you about some of those. The first one of which is the one-pedal driving. For anybody who hasn't had an electric car, one-pedal driving is exactly as it sounds. The car has a regenerative braking system, so when you take your foot off the throttle, the car will use that energy of the electric motor to slow the car down. And you become very used to that very quickly, within about 20 minutes, and you'll wonder why you've ever driven any other way in your life. It just feels like a very natural way to drive. You can just ease off the throttle and the car will slow down. It's very easy to judge roundabouts like that. You're approaching a roundabout, you ease off, you slow down, you can see there's nothing coming, and off you go. To the degree that I would say on most journeys, you might only touch the brake once or twice. I think I'm on my way to a client meeting a bit later today, and I know yesterday I was out and about visiting a client, and I think there was 2 occasions in the whole trip, and I'd done probably 100 miles in total, that I actually touched the brake. All the rest of the time it was regen braking. So it really does make a huge difference, and is a very relaxing way to drive. No clutch, like automatic, but even better because it's just one pedal. So that's definitely a big contributor towards the experience of having a Tesla and driving an electric car, because I've also driven a Nissan Leaf, and the one pedal driving in that is the same, it's really good. So it's a very different way of driving, but one that you become used to very quickly. And I would feel, well, it has felt strange. I've got in my wife's car, and it feels really strange, really old-fashioned actually, to now have to push a clutch pedal in and gears and all of that sort of stuff, and actually touch the brake when you want to slow down. So yeah, very, very strange. Okay, the second part of the driving experience for me is the acceleration. This car is the standard range plus, so it's not the dual motor, it's not the performance model, but still the acceleration on it is definitely the fastest car that I've ever owned. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. The dual motor version with 4-wheel drive will do 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds, I think. And the performance model takes that down to about 3.2 seconds. I've never driven one of those vehicles, but on the basis of the experience I have in my standard range plus, I would suggest that that would be frightening. It's frightening just in this car at 5.4. It really is. You really do feel it. It's by far the fastest car that I've ever driven, and the acceleration is quite unique as well, because there's no lag to that. It's instant torque, and as soon as you put your foot down, you're away. And it feels like, those of you who've been on a roller coaster, it feels like that sort of inertia when one of those roller coasters starts off. And you never grow tired of it. You never grow tired of it. I love doing it. I don't do it all the time, but now and again. It's also nice to know that you've got that acceleration for overtaking. because obviously, you know, that's a safety feature really, to being able to overtake quickly, and you can certainly do that. There aren't many cars on the road that would keep pace with this car, let alone with the dual motor or the performance model. The next part of the experience that I think is worth talking about is the Autopilot. Now, Autopilot is a function of the car which is all controlled on this screen. It's an immense system, it really is. I mean, they have got full self-drive available now. This car only has the standard Autopilot, which comes with all Model 3s, but it still does allow you on dual carriageways and motorways comfortably to let the car do the driving. It will set the speed. It's just about to come over a cattle grid. There it is. It'll set the speed, it'll set the acceleration, it takes care of all of that, it takes care of the distance between you and the car in front. There isn't anything it doesn't take care of really. You have to touch the steering wheel now and again just to let the vehicle know that you're still there. But other than that, it's awesome, absolutely brilliant. And we'll demo that in a moment as well. I have used Autopilot on B roads and A roads, and it works quite well. In fact, I'll cut to a shot going through some small villages just outside my home. But on dual carriageways and motorways, it really is fantastic, and really makes the car a pleasurable thing to drive. Okay. A couple of other things that I love about the car as well is the updates. You often get updates to the car. On average, I'd say probably once every 6 weeks to 8 weeks, something like that. And they're really fun when you get them. It's a bit like it used to be with the old with iPhones, when you used to get an update to your iPhone, and it was almost like having a new phone, wasn't it? Well, this is very similar. When you get the update to the car, you know, you get notified on your app that the update is there. You can start to upload it via your app, or instruction via your app. It actually gets uploaded directly to the car through your Wi-Fi at home, and that is it's a great experience to have, because it means that there's usually functions added to the car, or they're making tweaks, or they're making bug fixes. They have the odd game, which is always nice to have. So you've, you know, a range of games that you can play in the car while you're charging, or, you know, the kids can play. And so it is quite, you know, some cars, a lot of cars have updates like that, but a lot of them you've got to actually take into the dealership to have that update done, and so they don't do them very often. Whereas Tesla are able to do them, you know, there's certainly been you know, I've certainly had maybe 2 in 1 month once, so they do come through quite often, and you know, often it'll be to add functions that really make it feel like a bit of a new car really for a moment. Going back to experience then, so as far as the driving experience go, I've talked about the one pedal driving, I've talked about the acceleration, I've talked about autopilot, and the last thing I would add on there that sort of comes into this area of driving experience is the info screen. You know, the screen that you've got is just this massive 15-inch landscape screen. Everything is done on this screen. You've got great navigation on the one side, lots of car information on the other side, and basically every single function that you want is on this screen. There are only 2 real buttons on the car, on the steering wheel. Everything else is controlled on the screen, and that makes it a very modern, a very crisp, a very slick way of operating a car. So inside the car, it's got this very clean look, because there are no buttons anywhere. Everything is done on the screen. The screen is really bright, really responsive, really quick. You've got Spotify on there, you know, and it's like a giant iPad really, and it works. Their software works in that sort of you know, very robust software, very slick, very quick. so no jerky movements or anything like that. The sat-nav itself is Google Maps, so the detail is excellent. So it really does add to the driving experience. You don't have to be touching it an awful lot. You're not always using it. You know, you can pretty much drive for most of the time without even referring to it at all. But when you need it, you know everything is there. And it can be a little bit daunting at first, because there is so much that you can do with the screen. And I have actually made a series of videos on all of the functions of the screen, which might be worth having a look at. But it's pretty quick for you to get used to it. And then it's pretty quick at getting around it. The car also has a very good voice recognition system, so you don't always have to touch a button to be able to do things. You can virtually do most of the functions of this car just by voice, including the navigation, but also functions like selecting music to play, turning on the heated seats. You can virtually there are very few functions that you have to do with a button. You can do most of them with the voice activation. And to activate that, you simply press the right hand scroll wheel, just push that in, and then give your voice command. So that adds to the overall experience. And I think probably if I was pushed to rank it, I'd say the overall driving experience is the thing that makes Tesla stand out, and the thing that makes it a car that you'll love to drive, and you'll find yourself trying to come up with excuses to drive it. The next thing I want to mention is the charging infrastructure, because that wasn't originally on my list, but actually it is worthy of mention. And I know it's going to change over the years, because I've heard that Tesla might open up their superchargers to other car users as well as Teslas, but right now it's exclusive to Teslas. And even when they do open it up, you know, I've never had the position where I've had to wait, apart from once, and it was literally for about 3 minutes. So I think, you know, they are adding chargers all of the time. So I think, you know, if they can keep up with that, it's a great infrastructure. And the thing about doing it, about using Tesla superchargers, is it's so easy. I mean, it literally is. There is no issues with it whatsoever. You simply pull up, you plug in, and you don't have to think about anything. It's as simple as plugging in, going off and having a cup of tea, coming back, and off you go. You do pay obviously for the supercharger miles, and it's 24 pence a kilowatt. I'm in a fortunate position because I had some free supercharger miles, and here's my plug for that. Please do make sure, if you're thinking of buying a Tesla, that you use somebody's referral code. Please use mine. It's in the description below. It just takes you through exactly the same process that you would normally go through, but it gives you 1,000 free miles with a supercharger, and it would give me 1,000 free miles with a supercharger as well. So a bit of a no-brainer really, and you know, selfless plug, I know, but please use my referral code in the video description. The other area I wanted to touch on is fuel savings, and that is huge. I mean, it's been probably 10 months that I've had the car. I haven't got the actual figures, but I know that in my old diesel car, I used to pay something like £115 a month in diesel. I used to have an Audi A5. That's definitely changed, and I mean, now I mean, the figures are significantly lower than that. I'm fortunate in that I have solar panels and I have a Zappy charger, which means that you know, I get a lot of free energy from the solar panels. I have a video on my setup actually, which you might want to have a look at. You'll see it just now on the screen there. That does make a difference. However, even if you didn't have solar, I'm also on the Octopus Go tariff. I was on their Agile tariff and came off that, but I'm on their Go tariff now, which means that between 12:30 and 4:30 in the morning, I think it is, I get electricity at 5 pence a kilowatt instead of the standard price of about 15 pence a kilowatt. And so basically all I do is I set the app with the Zappy charger I set the car to 80% charge, and every night I plug it in every time I come home anyway. So each night after 12:30, it'll charge the car up to the 80% or 90%, whatever you set it at. And so you wake up every morning with a car charged up to the level you want. And for me, 97% of the time, that's more than enough, even with the standard range plus, for me to be able to do my normal driving around here and there, doing 30 or 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 miles. Even if you pay 5 pence and you haven't got solar, you know, if you're charging the car up from 20% to 80%, let's say, I think the cost for that is like less than £2 or just over £2. It's a couple of pounds. It literally is significantly less. It's well below 25% of my normal fuel costs, well below that. I think with solar and with the tariffs that I've got, you can almost drive for about a penny a mile, which is huge. You know, it's a huge saving. And if you add that in, that I was paying, let's say each month at the moment I'm paying £25 for electricity for the car. I don't even think I am, but let's say I was, you know, that's saving me 90 quid a month. So some huge fuel savings to be had. And the fact that I'm lucky that I've got solar, and I know that sometimes, you know, the fuel going into this car has come from the power of the sun, is just the icing on the cake. It just makes you feel really good about it. The final thing to talk about is the app. The app is the app could be better, and I'm sure they'll improve it over time. But it is really good. You do refer to it a lot. You can do most of the controls from the app. You can you know, sound the horn, vent the windows. You can even allow somebody else to use the car. So if I was away, for example, and I'd taken the train somewhere and my son wanted to borrow the car, I can unlock the car from the app where I am, and he can jump into the car and go off, and then when he shuts the door and walks away, the car is relocked, and if I want to let him back in, I can do that from the app again. So I mean, the functions like that are absolutely fantastic. A few things that I personally think they should add a function where you can be told through the app that somebody is waiting to use the supercharger. That I think would be a good idea, so that, you know, you're not obliged to go and remove your car if you're charging, but at least you know somebody is waiting. I think that would be useful to have. So there are definitely a few things they could change on the app, but I'm sure over time they will. It hasn't changed in the 10 months that I've had it. But you can also do things like, you know, log a service, so you don't have to pick the phone up. You can log everything to have a service request to the car through the app. So it really is the heart of the car and the way that you operate it. And your mobile phone also acts as your key. Part of the app is that you can have keyless entry into the car just by having your mobile phone in your pocket. You don't have to bring it out or anything like that. You can also get a key fob for the Model 3, and you've also got a couple of cards that are given to you when you buy the car. The app is definitely another one of those reasons that it's great to own a Tesla. Okay, so there we have it. My, I think it was 6 or 7 favourite things about owning a Tesla. I hope you found that information useful. If you are thinking of buying a Tesla, then I would strongly recommend that you scratch that itch and you get one, because it is, for me, I've absolutely no regrets. It's the first time I've bought a brand new car. It's the first time I've bought an electric car. And I definitely won't go back to an ICE car. I'm certain of that. And I would stick with Tesla, I think, for the time being, for sure. There is no other car that's sort of close to it from an efficiency point of view, from the energy they get out of the battery. The watt hours per mile that they get is phenomenal in comparison to the majority of other manufacturers, but obviously the choice is becoming much bigger. Nearly every manufacturer now is looking at bringing out an electric if they haven't already done. But yeah, so if you are thinking, definitely go for it. There's a few things that you could add to a list of things to change, but I'm not going to go into them because they're not worth talking about really. From my point of view, it's all positive. And yeah, if you are thinking, please do remember to use a referral code. Mine is in the description. And yeah, enjoy what I think is one of the best cars in the world.